Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Is my voice audible? Hare Krishna. Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the fifth chapter of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday we completed the chapter. So Rishabhadev, after giving instructions to his sons, he it is mentioned that um, thus Rishabhadev instructed his own sons, although they were highly learned, just to set an example for the public. So having given instructions about the path of Jnana, Vairagya and Bhakti, uh, and for great sages who have become detached from material lives and have given up karmas, he enthroned the eldest amongst his sons, that is Bharat Maharaj, the topmost devotee and the servant of the Vaishnava, to protect the earth. Then, accepting only bodily maintenance even while remaining at home and acting like a madman, he then took the sacrificial fire within himself and walked about Brahmavarta naked with disheveled hair. He walked. Then, after accepting the dress of an Avaduta, Lord Rishabhadev acted like a dull person, blind, deaf, and mute, like a ghost or a madman. When addressed by people, he remained silent since he had taken the vow of silence. He wandered the earth alone, going here and there through all towns, villages, and all these places. And he remained indifferent like an elephant surrounded by flies. He remained indifferent. Hmm. Though he was humiliated by the insults, scolding, and beatings of low class people who sometimes urinated on him, spat on him, threw stones, stool, or dust on him, and so on. And he was not afflicted since he did not identify with me or mine and was situated in a spiritual body, understanding that this body composed of the universe was temporary, even though real, while distinguishing the functions of the spiritual and the material energies. So here, very clearly, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Jiva Goswami says that this statement is made only to give instruction to common people. Okay, because he identified with his body as, you know, temporary. Now, Rishabdev's body is not a temporary body. So, this is just to instruct the ordinary people, to common people. The word etasmin should not therefore indicate his body, but the universe, since his body is spiritual. But because the universe is temporary, it is called asat samsthane. As a unit, it is designated as the body of the Lord in a secondary sense. So he did not identify with that body composed of the universe. He did not. If he were to identify with that body, which is the universe composed of those who insulted him, then he would naturally lament, thinking, oh, my body composed of the universe is contaminated by this great offense. He will think like that. But he did not identify with that body. He did not identify with that body since he was situated in his own glory, in his body of knowledge and bliss, with the realization of his Chit Shakti belonging to his Swarupa and his Maya Shakti, which was not his Swarupa. So he clearly understood the difference between the two. So therefore, he was not disturbed. His tender hands, feet, chest, long arms, and all the other limbs were well placed. His face had a natural smile and a natural beauty. He had beautiful eyes. and all his other bodily parts were very beautiful. And he awakened love in the minds of the city women with his joyful face, with a deep smile. And but since his body was neglected and covered with that dirt, he appeared to be haunted. Hmm. And when he saw that the world was unfavorable for his practice of yoga, and that the remedial measures of the materialists were disgusting, he then took the vow of the python. Ajagaram vratam astitah, and remained in one place, sleeping, eating, drinking, chewing, urinating, and passing stool there only. And he would just roll in that filth, and his body became covered with that, you can say so-called filth. Okay. Just so that he did not want to unnecessarily, if he moved about, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that if he moved about, then many people may get, kind of disturbed, get affected by that, seeing him, they may get affected. So therefore, he decided, let me not move about. I will stay in one place so that the people of that place, when they see me, the first time they may get bewildered, but after some time they will get used to me, and I will not cause excessive agitation and doubts in others. So with that in mind, he actually chose to stay in one place. The wind, but even though, now you may say that, oh, that must be very disgusting if he was rolling in the same stool and urine. But he says, but this was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even that was extremely fragrant, so fragrant that that fragrance would spread to a radius of 10 yojanas. One yojana is like what, 8 miles? 8 miles is one yojana. So 10 yojana is 80 miles. 80 miles radius. 80 miles radius. The fragrance of that stool would, go. While moving, standing, sitting, or lying down, acting like the cow, deer, or crow, and displaying this nature to people who were similar to crows and animals, he drank, ate, and urinated. Okay. So he displayed this nature for the people who were just like crows or other animals. And Rishabhadev, performing many types of yoga, was always absorbed in the highest bliss. He was filled with the perfection of all goals through prema directly experienced within himself, which produced unlimited tears directed to himself in the form of Vasudeva. So here it is mentioned that again, our acharyas bring out this point of the amsha having prema towards the amshi. So the amshi is Vasudeva and the amsha is Rishabhadeva. So the amsha has prema towards the amshi, which is very natural. Even though this is not highlighted in the other sampradayas, it is very much highlighted in our sampradaya. So here he had this prema. So because prema was there, therefore he did not welcome in his mind the mystic power. So yesterday we had a discussion on this. Even those mystic powers is not just something which comes through Ashtanga Yoga. The same mystic powers can be attained by practice of Bhakti Yoga also. And when one approaches on the path of Shuddha Bhakti, when he approaches towards Prema, these mystic yogas also one can get. But one does not get attracted to them because of the sweetness of Prema. So yesterday we saw some examples just to illustrate this point. So so he says that the concept of many supreme lords is rejected, and thus the word Atmani itself is used here. So someone may say that if Rishabhadev is the supreme lord and he worshipped another supreme lord, you may say that this is polytheism. He says, no, no. That's why it is mentioned that he worshipped himself, just to understand that it is not exactly polytheistic. Actually, there is only one Lord. Uh, it is monotheistic only. And the other so-called lords are just expansions of this one Lord. Hmm. Whether they may be demigods or even other Vishnu Tattva expansions, they are all expansions of the one Lord. Hmm. Ekam Brahma Dvitiya Nasti. There is only one Brahman, there is no second. So all those other forms are just expansions of this one form. So when you have, you do not say that one person is there, you do not say that, oh, there are many persons. How? You see, the person is there, his hand is there, his left hand is there, his right hand is there, his left leg is there, his right leg is there. You don't say like that. A person possessing two hands, 2 feet, two eyes, 2 ears, one nose, one with two nostrils and one mouth and one belly and all that, possessing that one person exists. Okay. So all of that belong to that one person. So therefore, um, we understand that it is not that um, uh, so therefore ekam brahma dvitiya nasti. There is nothing that exists independent of him. Everything is his part, either his energy or his um, either his energy or his amsha. So that way there is our path is monotheistic only. But it is not a kind of homogeneous monotheism. Hmm. It is not like a homogeneous monotheism, but a very uh, a monotheism in which you understand everything in relationship with the Supreme Lord, uh, and you understand everything's dependence with the Supreme Lord. Hmm. Seeing the Supreme Lord as a source of everything. So um, it's a very sophisticated science. Vaishnavism is a very, very sophisticated science. It is not a very, uh, you kind of, it's not a very rudimentary form of monotheism, but it's a very, very sophisticated form of monotheism. Okay. Where you do see multiple manifestations of the Supreme Lord. Uh, so some people are worshipping, calling themselves Vaishnavas and worshipping Narasimha. Some people are calling themselves as Vaishnavas and worshipping Lord Ramachandra. Some people are calling themselves Vaishnavas and worshipping Lord Krishna, like that. But um, but then one may say, how can you call yourself monotheistic? The point is, you see that even the other Amsha forms of the Supreme Lord are actually worshipping the Amshi who is Krishna. Okay. So that way, uh, monotheism. Okay. That way there is monotheism. It is not polytheistic. Okay. Like that. So this is where we ended our discussion yesterday. We completed this chapter. So now we are going to start with the sixth chapter. Um, let's see what is the sixth chapter. The sixth chapter is titled as Rishabhadev's disappearance. How he disappears from this world that is described. It's a short chapter, but a very instructive chapter. At least some parts of this chapter are very instructive. Let us start today's discussion. Raja Uvacha. So now Parikshit Maharaj is asking some question to Shukadev Goswami. Nanonam Bhagava Atmaramanam Yoga Samirita Jnana Avavarjita Karma Bijanam Aishwaryani Punah Kleshadani Bhavitum Arhanti Yadrichayopagatani. So Parikshit Maharaj is addressing Shukadev Goswami says, O Bhagavaha, O Lord, Atmaramanam, for the Atmaramas, Avavarjita karma bijanam, who have burned up the seeds of karma, yoga samirita jnana, by knowledge produced through yoga, Aishwaryani, the mystic powers, Yadrichaya upagatani, which arise on their own, na nunam punaha kleshadani bhabitumarhanti, should not produce suffering again. So, the question is regarding Rishabhadev rejecting the mystic powers, and Parikshit Maharaj is amused. He says, why did he have to do it? What is he afraid of? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Even the Atmaramas, the Jivatmas who are Atmaramas, completely self-satisfied, um, and who have burned up the seed of karma. Seed of karma means material desires. Material desires and material karma vasanas. Those who have burnt up all of that, uh, the mystic powers which arise on their own, they should not cause any trouble to them. They would not be worried about it. And here is Rishabhadev, who is the Supreme Lord. Why does he have to be so cautious about not accepting the mystic powers? This is the question that he's going to ask now. The sixth chapter discusses the low position of the mind, the disappearance of Rishabhadev, and the rise of the heterodoxy in imitation of his activities. So, the sixth chapter will discuss, how one should be a practitioner of a spiritual path, should be very careful about his mind. And we'll talk about the disappearance of Rishabhadev and also how Jainism, sprung up due to, misunderstanding the teachings of Rishabhadev. These three things we are going to discuss. Hearing that Rishabhadev did not welcome the mystic powers, Parikshit asks a question. O great soul, for the Atmaramas who have burned up the seeds of karma by knowledge arising from the best yoga, the power should not be harmful. The mystic power should not be harmful, since enjoyment which arises suddenly is not harmful for them. So, Shukadeva Goswami understood his question. Even though Parikshit Maharaj has presented his proposal, his reflection, the question is not very explicit. But considering the context of discussion, even though the question has not been explicitly presented, but the implicit question is understood by Shukadeva Goswami, so he does not wait for Parikshit Maharaj to actually speak out the question that is amusing him. Okay. So he understands. Okay. So Parikshit Maharaj wants to know that why if ordinary Atmaramas, Jivatmas who are Atmaramas, if they don't get troubled by the mystic powers, then why should the Supreme Lord himself, who is Yogeshwara, who is the Lord of all mystic powers, why should he take such a cautious approach? Is the question. And even though he has not spelt out, he has not spoken this question, but still, Shukadeva Goswami exactly understood what was there in Parikshit Maharaj's mind, and then he immediately starts answering this question. So he says, Rishi Ruvacha, Satyamuktam, Kintu, Ihava ekena manaso adda vishrambam, anavasthanasya shata kirata iva sangachante. So he says, Satyamuktam, what you have spoken is correct. Kintu, but iha, in this world, eke, intelligent people, na adda vishrambam, they do not at all put faith, anavasthanasya manasaha, in the unsteady mind. Shata kirata iva sangachante, which is like a degraded, cunning person. So Shukadeva Goswami says, yes, what you say is correct. I am not denying this fact. But in this world, intelligent people do not put faith in the unsteady mind, which is like a degraded, cunning person. Okay. Shila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, you have spoken correctly. The mystic power should not give problems. However, intelligent persons never put faith in the mind. Why? Because the mind at every moment takes on a new condition. Becoming pure, the mind immediately becomes impure. It keeps changing. It's unsteady. You know, you're chanting and meditating on, mm, you know, if not past times, at least, you know, we are meditating on, at least, okay, my chanting is going on well. Oh, I should chant attentively like that. And suddenly out of nowhere, our mind jumps to something very abominable, obnoxious, right? Has it ever happened to you? Hmm. Has it ever happened to you? I think many people are raising their hands, right? So, yeah. Hmm. So becoming pure, the mind immediately becomes impure. The degraded, cunning person, after showing friendship, kills the trusting person after robbing him. So the mind will make you feel, look, I have changed. I am trustworthy now. You can trust me like that. And right when we least expect, he will rob us. Okay. After showing its purity with power not to be influenced by lust and anger, one day the mind makes the sadhaka who has become lax in effort to fall down by a sudden appearance of lust or anger. Has it ever happened that for many days, many months, many weeks, you know, you seem to have significantly progressed? Okay. Nothing is happening. Suddenly, out of nowhere, certain thoughts of lust or anger or greed, which existed long time back, suddenly makes its appearance. And you're like, my God, I thought I had completely overcome this, but suddenly out of nowhere it is manifested, right? Though the low-born person constantly studies the dharma and shows good character and is trusted even in the treasury, he sometimes commits theft since his nature is difficult to give up. Okay, this is there. The mind cannot be trusted. Okay, we cannot be overconfident of our mind. So you may have, you know, we oftentimes see this. My father always says that never, uh, if some servant or servant maid is working at your place, my father says, never keep expensive items openly. Not that we don't trust our servant maid, but we should not tempt them. In a fit of temptation, in a moment, your mind might cheat you and they may pick it up and they may regret it. The moment they step out of the house, they may regret it. Oh, I should not have done it. But by then it might become late. Okay. And we may have to stop that person's livelihood. Hmm. We may have to stop that person's livelihood just for a moment's temptation. And who became the cause? We are the cause. Hmm. We are the cause. We put that thing and unnecessarily tempted that person. And then for our mistake, we terminated that person. Okay. He says never do that. Okay. Because everyone is good. Circumstances might sometimes, uh, you know, trigger the temptation in that person's mind. Okay. So therefore, uh, though the low-born person constantly studies the dharma and shows good character and is trusted even in the treasury, he sometimes commits theft since his nature is difficult to give up. Similarly, even though one trusts the mind which has been purified by sense control and mind control and has become fixed in hearing and meditation, the uncontrolled mind becomes absorbed in sinful object when given the opportunity and takes away discriminating knowledge. So they say morality is lack of opportunity. Sometimes they say. You see that unless the person is very, very exalted, you may say, so they say that morality is lack of opportunity. Okay. But lack of opportunity is good. Lack of opportunity is good because if we have lot of opportunity, then we will, there will be no opportunity. Our mind will keep succumbing again and again and again. So while there is no opportunity, if we develop alternative uh, attachments, if we perform devotional service very nicely and get attracted to the holy name, etc., sufficiently, then even when the opportunity is there, morality can be maintained. But when the inner strength is not there, when the inner strength is not there, sufficient inner strength is not there, and if opportunity is there, then morality, then we will fall down from the position of morality, of moral action. So they say in a very sarcastic way. So that statement that morality is actually lack of opportunity is a very sarcastic statement. Oh, you think you are a very moral person. You may not necessarily be. It's just that you lack the opportunity. Yes, that is true. So, but if someone is equipped with a proper process of inner cleansing, cheto darpanam arjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam, if that opportunity for inner cleansing is there, then yeah, if there is lack of opportunity, then that gives the additional time for the process to work on the mind and cleanse the mind. And when the mind has become sufficiently cleansed, even when there is opportunity, one can uphold that morality. Okay. So we don't have to, like they say, fool's rush where the angels fear to tread. So we don't have to think that I will test how self-controlled I am and I will go to those places where my mind may get agitated. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We have to protect ourselves from such situations and keep practicing Krishna consciousness nicely with the trust that with every chanting of the holy names diligently, with every association that I have, with every opportunity that I have to hear Krishna's holy names and take darshan of the deities, gradual internal purification is definitely happening. And when it sufficiently happens, even when such opportunities come for the mind to get distracted, the mind has become internally purified. So that is the point. Tata cha uktam. So Shukadeva Goswami says, what you say is correct, O Parikshit Maharaj. But intelligent people of this world do not at all put faith in the unsteady mind, which is like a degraded, cunning person. So therefore they say, "Na kuryat karhichit sakyam manasihi anavastite yad vishramba chirat chirnam chaskandat tapa aishwaram." Therefore they say, "Nahi kuryat karhichit sakyam." One should never make friends. Manasi anavastite. Anavastite manasi. With the unsteady mind, one should never be friends. Okay. One should never be friends with the unsteady mind. Yad Vishrambat, because by trusting the mind, Chirat Chirnam, even the long standing Tapa Aishwaram, the austerity of Lord Shiva, Chaskanda, was quickly destroyed. Probably this is referring to the Mohini Murthy episode, even though we understand that that is only from the perspective of Yoga Maya, but still you can say that one should never make friends with the unsteady mind. You cannot say that Lord Shiva's, or maybe it refers to Parvati, the episode of Parvati trying to attract Lord Shiva. Uh, Probably it refers to one of them. We will see if it is mentioned. So he says that one should never make friends with the unsteady mind because trusting the mind, even the long standing austerity of Shiva was quickly destroyed. So this is a very safe approach. Uh, like they say, it is better to be safe than sorry. So, so ideally, there is no loss if we don't trust our mind. Hmm. There is no loss if we don't trust our mind and take it safe. Hmm. Because of faith in the mind, one's austerity practiced over a long time flows away. Aishwaram means related to Shiva, whose austerity was destroyed by seeing the form of Mohini. Or it can refer to those who are expert in sense control, such as Saubari. Okay. So one should never trust one's mind. Nityam dadati kamasya chidram tam anuye rayah yogina kritamaitrasya patyurjayeva pumschali. Yoginah kritamaitrasya. The mind of the yogi who trusts it, nityam chidram dadati. It gives opportunity, kamasya, to lust, tam anuye arayah, and its followers such as anger and greed. Patyur pumschali jaya iva. Just as the trusting husband's loose wife gives opportunity to her lover. So, this is the point. So, he says that if a yogi has the attitude of trusting his mind, has an attitude of trusting his mind, which means if he gives benefit of doubt to his own yogic abilities and thinks that, oh, I am very safe. Okay. If he has that kind of a callous attitude, overconfident attitude, then the mind starts giving opportunities for lust. And when lust enters, then it will be followed by anger and greed. Just as if a husband has a very loose, has a wife of a loose character, then if he is not attentive, if he is over trusting, then that gives the opportunity for the loose wife's lover, you know, like that. So the point is, here he is addressing the same thing. Morality is lack of opportunity, they say, but the point is that lack of opportunity is not all that bad. Lack of opportunity is not all that bad as long as one has a realistic process. One has a realistic process of cleansing the mind. Even if one does not have a realistic process of, or you can say, mm, a robust process of internal cleansing, still lack of opportunity is better. So what if people say, oh, your morality is just lack of opportunity? I said, fine, fine, no problem. No problem. So it is better to not have the opportunity and remain moral than to rush to the greener, so-called greener pastures and lose one's morality. And even better if one has access to a path by which one can cleanse one's heart, then in the interim period, lack of opportunity is very good. Uh, When I say lack of opportunity, I mean lack of opportunity for sense gratification. Okay. So the cause is explained. Hmm. So the cause is explained. The mind of the trusting yogi gives an opportunity to lust and its followers, that is anger and greed, which are enemies. Arayaha means enemies. Just as the prostitute trusted by her husband gives opportunity to her lover and has her husband killed, the mind makes the yogi fall from his position by lust and other desires. Hmm. So that is the point. Uh, so one should not trust one's mind so much. Oh, I am safe, I'm okay, like that. It is always, one should be careful. कामो मन्युर्मदो लोभः शोकमोह भयादयः कर्मबन्धश्च यन्मूलः स्वीकुर्यात् को नु तद्बुधः. Then says, what intelligent person would trust the mind? को नु तद्बुधः स्वीकुर्यात्. को नु बुधः तत् स्वीकुर्यात्. Okay. What intelligent person would trust the mind? Yad mulaha, which is the cause of kamaha, lust, manyuhu, anger, madaha, pride, lobaha, greed, shoka, lamentation, moha, illusion, baya, fear, adayaha, etc. Karma bandhascha, and it's a cause of bondage by karma. So um, what intelligent person would trust the mind, which is the cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, fear, and the cause of bondage by karma? Why should we trust such a mind? Why should we trust such a mind? So that's what he says. This verse describes the enemies mentioned in the last verse. What are those enemies? So these are the enemies. Who would trust the mind, the root of all, the root of lust and all the other anarthas? So to summarize this section, Parikshit Maharaj asked to Shukadeva Goswami, self-satisfied Atma Ramas like Rishabhadev do not have any desire for enjoyment. Hence, the mystic powers should not bother them. Why then did Rishabhadev reject the mystic powers? Shukadeva Goswami responded, what you say is right, but intelligent people never put faith in the unsteady mind, as it is like a degraded cunning person. Why do you say so? He says, sometimes it shows purity with power not to be influenced by lust and anger. And one day, the mind makes the sadhaka who has become lax in effort to fall down by a sudden appearance of lust or anger. Therefore, it is said that one should never make friends with the unsteady mind. It quickly destroyed the long-standing austerity of even Lord Shiva. The mind of the yogi who trusts it gives opportunity to lust and its followers, anger and greed, just as the trusting husband's loose wife gives opportunity to her lover. Hence, what intelligent person would trust the mind, which is the cause of all bad qualities like lust and the cause of bondage by karma? So therefore, never trust your mind. So this approach is very safe. This approach, always safety is uh, uh, always safety is better than uh, audacity. Okay. Or, I mean, Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita recommends safety when he says, actually, sannyasa karma yogascha nishreyasa karavubhav tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishyate. He says, yes, if a person has reached the stage of jnana, then he is qualified to give up karma, not a problem. So karma sannyas is definitely an option. And karma yoga is also an option, with a detached way, he can perform karma yoga, without attachment to the fruits, with just focus on liberation as the goal. One can continue to perform Nishkama Karma Yoga even after reaching the stage of Jnana. And he says both options are fine, but he says better he um, better he performs Nishkama Karma Yoga rather than Karma Sannyas, because Karma Sannyas is safe. What if there was a slight misjudgment of your own internal purity, and later you realize that actually the heart is not sufficiently purified? So he says, it is better to be safe than sorry. So therefore, even if you're super confident that yes, 100% my heart is purified, but still don't take a chance. Don't take a chance. Okay. That's what Krishna also tells in the Bhagavad Gita. Uh, and then he says it here. Okay. So, Ataivam Akila Lalamo Api Vilakshanair Jadavad Avadhuta Vesha Bhasha Charitair Avilakshita Bhagavat Prabhavo Yoginam Samparaya Vidim Anushikshayan Swakalevaram Jihasur Atmani Atmanam Asamvyavahitam Anartantara Bhavena Anvikshamana Uparata Anuvrittihi Upararama. So here he says, though he was the head of all the protectors of planets, he hid his nature as the Supreme Lord. Avilakshita Bhagavat Prabhavaha. Jadavad Vilakshanaihi, by appearing dull-witted. Avaduta Vesha Bhasha Charitaihi, wearing the dress of an Avaduta and speaking like an Avaduta. So basically, one thing that Rishabhadev, is showing to all the yogis is that don't be overconfident. uh, Don't be overconfident of your own mind. Hmm. Overconfidence is not very good. That's what he's telling. Hmm. If you are overconfident, then uh, there is always a danger. Hmm. That's what this. Don't trust your mind prematurely. And what is premature judgment? Any judgment of your mind is premature. Assume that. That's what Rishabhadev is telling. Okay. Anytime you think you are safe, it is a premature judgment. Okay. Anytime you think you are safe, it's a premature judgment, because one who is truly advanced will develop humility, and naturally out of his humility will think I am not safe. Because which means if you think you are safe, you are 100% not safe. If we think we are safe, we are 100% not safe. Because a truly safe person will never think he is safe because of his natural humility. So the very fact that we think we are safe means we are unsafe. We are not ready to trust our mind. Okay. So though he was the head of all the protectors of planets, he hid his nature as a supreme lord by appearing dull-witted, wearing the dress of an avadut and speaking like an avadut, teaching the yogis how to give the material body. He desired to give an appearance of giving up his body, even though, you know, he was the supreme personality of Godhead. So he need not give up his body. But he still performed an imitation of giving up his body. An imitation of giving up his body. Constantly seeing himself as non-different from the Lord and having no obstacle of material energy obstructing him. Imitating the Avaduta, he ended his pastimes on earth. Having finished the incidental topic of why Rishabhadev did not welcome mystic powers, now Shukadev Goswami returns to the main topic. He taught how to give up the body by imitating giving up the body. He did not give up the body because his body is eternal body, but still he imitated it. Hmm. Still he imitated it. Because his body is spiritual, he always saw himself as non-different from Paramatma without the obstacle of a material body. This was his internal mode. Hmm. Externally, he was giving up the body. Imitating the conduct of an avaduta, he gave up his pastimes as an avatara. Desiring to give up his body means that he desired to give up the manifestation of his body in this world. Desiring, which means he wanted to move to the next place where his pastimes could continue. That's what it means. That is the meaning of desiring to give up his body. So, the meaning will be evident. This meaning will be evident in the next verse. तस्यः वा एवं मुक्तलिङ्गस्य भगवत ऋषभस्य योगमाया वासनया देह इमां जगतीं अभिमान आभासेन संक्रममाणः कोङ्क वेङ्क कुटकान् दक्षिण कर्णाटकान् देशान् यदृच्छयोपगतः कुटकाचलोपवन आस्य कृत अश्म कवल उन्माद इव मुक्तमूर्धजो असंवीत एव विचचार. The body of the Supreme Lord Rishabhadev, who hid his qualities as the Lord during his pastimes, wandered over the earth as if moving by the remaining shadow of Avidya's influence. Though actually he was under the influence of Yogamaya, but he was moving as if he was influenced by Mahamaya. Reaching Konka, Venka, and Kutaka in Karnataka state in South India, by his own will, he came to Kutakachala. He moved like a madman, naked with disheveled hair, and had a stone in his mouth. This verse describes how he gave up his body. Though he was the Lord, he gave up the characteristics of the Lord, or he had the characteristics of a liberated soul. Just as the yogis move their body by the influence of previous impressions after they are liberated, like a finished pot still moving on the potter's wheel. Oh, such a beautiful analogy. Like a finished pot still moving on a potter's wheel, just to be removed. Okay, just to be removed, waiting to be removed. Rishabhadev, making an appearance of identifying with the body, continued to exist by the impressions which are a reflection of avidya, like the Jivan Muktas. So he did not have any avidya. He just had a reflection of avidya, like the Jivan Muktas. However, Rishabhadev was actually different. He existed by the influence of Yoga Maya, like that, by the impressions of his desire to perform pastimes like an avaduta. He had a desire to perform the pastimes of an avaduta. By that desire, assisted by the Yoga Maya potency, he was performing his pastimes, even though externally acting as if he was acting under the influence of the Mahamaya potency. Just as a small child puts anything that he receives in his mouth, Rishabhadev had a stone in his mouth. He was naked, asamvitah. Ata Samira Vega Vidhuta Venu Vikarshana Jatogra Davanalastadvanam Alelihanaha Sahatena Dadaha. An intense forest fire created by the rubbing of bamboos, agitated by the force of the wind, devouring everything, burned up the forest along with Rishabhadev. I mean, this is all. His body cannot be burnt because it is spiritual. Okay. But for the external person who was observing, this is how his presence in this world, he created the illusion for other people that this is how my stay here is going to come to an end. So it has mentioned it is mentioned that he disappeared. How did this happen? This verse describes the event. The fire burned up the forest along with Rishabhadev. The fire burnt up the gross bodies of trees and animals in that forest. Rishabhadev burnt up their settled bodies. Wow. So the fire burnt up their gross bodies and Rishabhadev burnt up their settled bodies. Thus, by his mercy, all the animals and plants attained liberation. All the animals and plants attained liberation. Hmm. To summarize this theme of Rishabhadev leaving the planet, he says, though he was a supreme lord, he hid his nature by appearing dull-witted and behaving like an avaduta. He desired to give an appearance of giving up his body for teaching the yogis on how to give up the body. His body wandered over the earth as if moving by Mahamaya, though actually he was under the influence of Yogamaya. Thus wandering, he reached the gardens of Kotakachala in Karnataka. An intense forest fire created by the rubbing of the bamboos burned up the forest along with Rishabhadev. While the fire destroyed the gross bodies of the animals and trees of the garden, Rishabhadev destroyed their settled bodies and gave them liberation by his mercy. So, okay. Now, Yasya kila anucharitam upakarnya konka venka kotakanam raja arhat nama upashikshya kalav adharma utkrishyamane bhavitavyena vimohitah swadharma patam akuto bayam apahaya kupata pakandam asamanjasam nijamanishaya mandaha sampravartayishyate. Konka Venka Kotakanam Arhat Nama Raja. King Arhat of Konka, Venka and Kotaka regions. Yasya Kila Anucharitam Upakarnya Upashikshya. Hearing about and learning the activities of Rishabhadev, Vimohitaha, he would become bewildered. Kalav Adharma Utkrishyamane, when Adharma increased in Kali Yuga. This uh, king by the name Arhat, after hearing about and learning the activities of Rishabhadev, would become bewildered when Adharma increased in Kali Yuga. Bhavitavyena, by the results of bad karma. Mandaha, foolishly, apahaya, giving up, swadharma patam, his path of dharma, akutobhayam, which had the potential to, he gave up his Kshatriya dharma, which had the ability to give up, which had the ability to destroy uh, uh, all dangers. Nija Manishaya, by his own mind, Sampravartayishyate Kupata Pakandam, he propagated a deviant path, Asamanjasam, which rejected the scriptures. So this is Jainism. He spread the path of Jainism. He spread the path of Jainism. So the jivas of Kali Yuga, looking in the external world, will get benefit by hearing and chanting the pastimes of Rishabhadev, but not by imitating his behavior. This is the point. The jivas of Kali Yuga, looking in the external world, will get benefit by hearing and chanting the pastimes of Rishabhadev, but not by imitating his behavior. So the point is, we have to understand that this is always the danger of trying to learn directly from the activities of great personalities in the scriptures without the illumination of the acharyas. Even as devotees, we can make these mistakes. We look at the pastimes and they say, oh, so and so great personality did like this, so I can also do. So now, if you go to the purport or commentary and see the acharyas explaining what they are explaining, you will see that there is a different lesson that they give, or there is a different explanation of why they are doing what they are doing. So that way we will get an understanding. Oh, is this why it is mentioned like this? So therefore, I thought there was a different lesson, but the acharyas illuminate a completely different lesson. So, so therefore, it is not just sufficient to know the pastimes of the Shastra. It is not that sufficient to know Shastra, but having the Shastra Yukti, the logic of the Shastras, especially the logic of the Bhakti Shastras, that is very important. Okay. So unless one understands the logic of the Bhakti Shastras, which one can assimilate through the illumination of the Acharyas, just merely knowing the pastime without knowing the Shastra Yukti, it can lead to, it is still actually Pratyaksha Praman only, Pratyaksha based Anuman only. Or you can say that using material logic or our Pratyaksha based logic in the Shastras is not philosophical speculation. It is still mental speculation only. Okay. So you look at a pastime and you say, okay, from this pastime, this is what we can learn. When you say that this is what we can learn should be in line with the overall Siddhanta as established by our Acharyas. Otherwise, presenting an outright, presenting an explanation of a pastime based on our outright material logic is not um, philosophical speculation. It is still mental speculation. Okay, like different lessons that we may say. Some of the lessons may not necessarily be the teaching of that exact pastime. And some of those lessons that we may give may not be in line with the conclusions of the Bhakti Shastras also. So in such cases, one should understand that only Shastra without Shastra Yukti is always dangerous. So the example is Rishabhadev. They saw his actions. They heard. In fact, Arhat was not even a contemporary. Arhat was not even a contemporary. Hmm. Hmm. He was not even a contemporary. So if he was not a contemporary, uh, then he heard from the Shastras only about the character and the activities. But what he did was, he heard the story of Rishabhadev, but he did not hear the right moral from the Acharyas. So he heard about Rishabhadev from the Shastras, but eventually he started a religion which rejected the Shastras. Okay. So that is the point. So someone may say, I will just end this purport and then I will touch this point a little bit before we open up for some discussion. Because the jivas in Kali Yuga are incapable of looking inward, they become fallen by becoming fixed in Rishabhadev's external conduct alone. The person called Arhat will be born in the future. He was not a contemporary of Rishabhadev. Hearing of Rishabhadev through local scriptures, he thought he would also become similar by imitating Rishabhadev's activities. He learned about his activities in detail. When adharma would increase in Kali Yuga because of what would inevitably happen as a result of bad karma, Arhat became bewildered. So the point is, people say, uh, uh, you know, people say that should we follow uh, Buddhism or Jainism or not? Okay, because Buddha is an incarnation, Rishabhadev is an incarnation, and Rishabhadev did not actively teach But Buddha actively taught also Buddhism, right? He taught Buddhism actively. Okay. So just give me 1 second. Okay. So, so someone may say that, so the Buddhists may say, okay, why should we not follow Buddhism, the teachings of Buddha? Isn't Buddha an incarnation? We say, fair enough. Very good point. Okay. Uh, Very good point. You can follow Buddha because he's an incarnation. But then our question is, how do you know Buddha is an incarnation? You may say, the scriptures say. Okay. So if you are taking scriptures as the pramana to accept Buddha as an incarnation, then you should also accept scriptures as the pramana to accept the purpose of Buddha's incarnation also. So, what do the scriptures say about the purpose of Buddha's incarnation that you should accept? So, the purpose of Buddha's incarnation is to bewilder the karmakandis, materialistic people who are using the scriptures to to increase violence to animals, to bewilder such persons. Uh, Buddha gave an apat dharma. This is what our shastras say. So it is just an emergency thing, which is not, like it is like learning traffic rules through ambulance. Okay. It is like learning traffic rules through ambulance. So you may say that, oh, is ambulance breaking the traffic rule? The answer is no. So then if I follow the ambulance, I should also not break the traffic rule, right? No, because the ambulance is apatkalin dharma. The regular dharma is not that. You may not see an ambulance stopping in red light, and you may see an ambulance stopping in green light also. If there is some danger there, and if some injured person is there, and if he has to be picked up, even though it may be green light, the ambulance may stop. But we cannot learn, even though the ambulance activities are authorized, but then by the government, but we cannot follow the government. We cannot follow the ambulance to learn traffic rules. Why? Because the same government which has authorized the ambulance has also given other rules for uh, all non-ambulance vehicles. So you cannot half accept the scriptures and half reject the scriptures. If you say that Buddha, we follow Buddha because Buddha is an incarnation, and we know that Buddha is an incarnation based on scriptures, then you should accept the same scriptures to understand what is the purpose of Buddha's appearance also. So you should accept. So Buddha came for presenting an apatkalin dharma, just to stop the this thing. Okay. But that cannot be the dharma. Okay. So, so therefore, if someone says that if Buddha is an incarnation, I will follow, that is not a very reliable argument. Okay, we will pause here. We should have some time for discussion, comments, discussion, questions. So I will first take the questions in the chat box, and then if we have some further questions, we will take. Okay. How to understand one who has controlled the mind? The mind is the best of the friends. Yeah, if one has controlled the mind becomes the best of the friends. But if one has not controlled the mind is not a friend. And even one who has perfectly controlled the mind will never, out of his humility, will never think that I have conquered the mind. He will not think like that. Okay. Okay. another comment, I guess. Opportunity can be seen as manifestation of one's own prarabdha. Yeah, you can say in that sense, it is a great danger too. Lack of opportunity can then be seen as one's good prarabdha. So when I say lack of opportunity, I mean to say with our conscious choice. When there are two paths, on one path, uh, on one route, there is less opportunity for the distraction of our mind, and on the other route, there is a lot of opportunity for distraction of our mind. We can consciously choose to avoid. So when I say opportunity, I am talking about opportunity that the jiva creates for himself by exercising his free will. Of course, certain opportunities may come according to our own karma. We have no choice. Okay, for that. That's okay. We are talking about there are many, many opportunities as jivas we create for ourselves based on the exercising of our free will. So those kind of opportunities we are talking about here. So another comment. Animals also got liberation means did they get Sayujya or did they go to Vaikunta? It is mentioned they attained liberation. So not very clear. Probably because they were not inimical but neutral. So probably they got more than Sayujya. It is possible. But again, here because the form is not the form of Krishna, but Rishabhadev, only the form of an Amsha, a partial incarnation. So therefore, could it be Vaikunta? So these questions come because it's not very clearly mentioned here. We will just take it as liberation, some form of liberation. Okay. Is Arhat also known as Arihant? Maybe, I don't know. Okay, Srila Prabhupada, uh, 5.5.29 commentary, Srila Prabhupada commentary. The word Avaduta refers to one who does not care for social conventions, particularly the Varnashrama Dharma. However, such a person may be situated fully within himself and be satisfied with the Supreme Personality of Godhead on whom he meditates. In other words, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma is called Avadut. Such a person has already surpassed the clutches of Maya and he lives completely separate and independent. Srila Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary. Thakur in 1.5.17 and 18.66 very clearly mentions that even beginner sadhakas qualified for bhakti does not have to follow Varnashrama Dharma. So he says, and by following my orders, you should not fear some loss on your part in giving up Nitya and Naimitika karmas. The order to perform these Nitya karmas was given by me in the form of the Vedas. Now I am ordering you to give them up all completely. So the question is, how do we reconcile these two? Can a sadhaka be considered an avaduta? Shed some light. Well, one may be an avadut. So the point is there is a difference between following Varnashrama Dharma and following social conventions. Certain social conventions and etiquettes may have to be followed for Lokasangraha purpose. And those social conventions and etiquettes may change from time to time. We are currently living in Kali Yuga, where even in a place like India, mostly, the generic social conventions are not necessarily Varnashrama. It may be traffic rules, generic morality, okay, uh, moral codes, okay, those kind of things. So one should be careful about following those things. Okay. So for Loka Sangraha purposes, one should follow. So therefore, when Prabhupada says, one who has surpassed the rules and regulations of Varnashrama Dharma is called an Avaduta. So this is, you can say, from the perspective of those on the general path, because an Avaduta can be an Avaduta on the gradual path, or an Avaduta can be on the path of Bhakti. So on the generic path, an Avaduta may not follow on the gradual path, an Avaduta who has reached the stage of being an Avaduta from practice of Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, he may not follow the Varnashrama Dharma. But on the path of Bhakti, an Avaduta may not sometimes be seen to act under the strict control of the rules and regulations of the Bhakti Shastras. Okay. So that is how we should understand. So just like we were discussing about Raganuga Bhakti recently in multiple books. So in Raganuga Bhakti, the actions are not stimulated by rules and regulations of the scriptures. So sometimes a Raganuga Bhakta may perform some activities which do not completely conform to the Vaidi rules or the Shastra Vidhi. Okay. So uh, that's how we should understand. Buddha is a part of the 10 avatars. Yeah, he's one of the 10 avatars. Arhat king, not to be found. But Arhat is a terminology for ascetic in Jainism. I don't know. Bhagavatam here says clearly that there was a king by the name Arhat. So, can you please explain differences between Buddha and Krishna irrespective of their opulence? Buddha and Krishna. And Buddha is an amsha and a partial expansion of Krishna. Uh, uh, and Krishna is the amshi. So, an amsha always manifests partial opulences when they come to this material world. They manifest only partial opulences in terms of power, knowledge, and all these things, and the impact in the society also is limited in comparison to the Amshi. So I don't know what other differences. Yeah. Yes, Keshav Priya Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Prabhuji, this session, is it like even if it is Supreme Personality Godhead come here, then the mind has to be taken care? What is the theme, Prabhuji? Like how it is
It is
explained?
very clearly mentioned that he hid his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was just
Mm,
showing, he was acting just like a yogi.
mm,
He was acting just like a yogi. Okay. And he was setting the right example for the yogis that don't be overconfident about your mind. Don't
mm,
be overconfident about your mind. So he is not showing himself to be, of course, he did speak that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead to his
mm, mm,
sons.
mm,
Okay. But the outside, when he started living the life of an Avadut, no one knew who he was. And he consciously did not show that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hmm. He
mm,
did not show that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was just showing that he was just like a yogi, an Avadut yogi.
mm.
So, like that.
Prabhuji, so even a perfected yogi or bhakta, they should be careful, Prabhuji, because they've transcended three modes now, Prabhuji. Even
Yeah,
after that,
that's what I am.
mind.
That's what I am telling. One
Mm,
who has actually transcended,
mm,
naturally, the qualities of humility will be there. So they will think
mm,
that I am not qualified,
mm,
and so they will not be. And of course, we are not talking about the activities which are stimulated by prema, like you see in the case of
mm,
um,
mm, mm,
uh, you see in the case of Ramananda Rai, training the
mm,
um,
mm,
training those dancers. Uh, uh, but at the same time, you do see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu telling that, I cannot trust my mind even if I see uh, a wooden doll which is feminine, I get attracted. So you do see both sides, right? So in the case of Ramananda Rai, his actions are completely stimulated by prema. Under normal circumstances, he would probably not do like that. Okay. But at that time, he was very much involved in training those Devadasis for the pleasure of, uh, Jagannath ji. Therefore, he
mm,
was acting like that. And you see the case of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even though Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is fully self-controlled, of course, to set the right example also, but at the same time, out of their natural humility, they don't think that they have transcended everything. Okay. And those who have not transcended, they may think that, okay, I am now safe. Okay. So, but they probably are not safe because the very fact that they think they are safe, which means the humility has not manifested. If the humility has not manifested because of, then which means there is existing rajoguna. And if there is rajoguna existing, then it might manifest as lust, anger, greed, etc. when the right opportunity comes. That is what is being communicated here.
And Prabhuji, while discussing this, you are saying that sometimes I mean engaged in proper Krishna class activities or proper training. This that statement you said, na Prabhuji, morality comes from something you said, na Prabhuji. That need
Yeah,
not be,
morality is lack of opportunity.
we not be paranoid of that, like that you are telling, na Prabhuji. So here in this, even our movement of 40, 50 years of very strict practices also, we see here and there some senior devotees are very good at bhakti, but they fall a victim of minds. They fall, na Prabhuji.
Yeah, it is possible.
So, so
That
what
is
is the
why one should be
scope
very
for
careful. That's
us?
what he's telling. I mean,
No,
what is
no,
the hope
Prabhuji.
means what?
No, Prabhuji,
See,
like,
once
yes.
they fall down does not mean they have fallen away from bhakti.
Yeah, yeah,
Krishna just,
that and all you explained many times,
yeah,
Prabhuji,
that
but
is
I'm
the hope.
telling that
That is the
mind is
hope.
still, oh,
That is the hope.
mind is still possible to fall down, na Prabhuji. Even
So
strenuous
what?
bhakti
Do
for
you want
40,
to be
50
known as a perfect person who never made a mistake, or do you want to become a devotee of Krishna?
devotee, devotee of Krishna only.
Okay, Krishna can make you fall down and make you a devotee because maybe we are attached to that feeling that, I am such a perfect devotee. There is no one black spot in my
Mm, mm,
resume. Like that, we may be
mm,
attached to that. Krishna
mm,
will break that down by making you fall down, but later take you to his lotus feet as a devotee.
mm. Oh, so we should not be attached to that also, that spotless devotion. I shouldn't
Yeah,
do mistake.
yeah,
Mm.
we should always feel a sense of dependence on Krishna. But
Uh,
sometimes when that pride gets in, Krishna may break that pride, but eventually take
mm.
you back also.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Pavan Gaurang Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
And
Prabhuji, my question regarding here, and in the sloka or in the purport also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has not referred anything like Jainism, right? So how we are saying that it is like it's a Jain religion only? How we means generally you mentions that it is not neither in the Acharyas not said in that way, right? So here
no,
you are
no,
referring
I'm not understanding your question, Prabhu.
here you mentioned that from the local scriptures he has
Mm-hmm,
created his own religion, right? He
mm-hmm.
practiced it.
Yeah,
So you mentioned that this is the Jainism, right?
yeah.
So how means here it without referring and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has not mentioned anything. It is referring to the Jainism or like that.
Yeah.
But how
Srila
we
Prabhupada
can
says in his purport.
okay.
Srila
Okay.
Prabhupada says in his purport that, and it is widely known that misunderstanding the activities of Rishabhadev only, the Jainism started is a widely known thing, and Srila Prabhupada also mentions it in his purport.
Okay. I don't know much about Jainism. That's why I'm asking this question.
Yeah,
And
even
one
I
more
don't know
question.
much about Jainism.
And one more question, Prabhu. I think in the previous purport, there is an example is given here, the pot and wheel, the
Yeah,
yogi. So here, even the perfected yogi, I mean, he's completely purified, but still, the wheel is rotating means he has some impurities, but he will not act upon those impurities. Is that it mean, Prabhu?
Right. The part in the wheel means a part which is ready but still in the wheel, which means he's a Jivan Mukta, and when the right time comes for him for giving up his gross body, then he will attain his. So when the part is ready, when the potter's hands become empty to remove that part, he will remove that part. Okay. So
Okay,
he has not removed it, does not mean that the part is not ready. Just that the
okay, okay,
potter's hand is not empty. Okay.
okay,
So
okay,
similarly, the person has reached the stage of Jivan Mukta, and when the right time comes, he will leave this world and go and attain liberation. That's what it means.
okay. Bro, one more question is there, Prabhu. Here in the Ashtanga Yogi, Gnana Yogi, multiple times you mentioned that in the Ashtanga Yogi we have the a devotee, like an element of bhakti. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah,
With the using of that element of bhakti, he will enter into the what is Brahma Jyoti. But
yeah,
here, what is the difference between the Gnana Yogi and Ashtanga Yogi, Prabhu? In the because in the Gnana Yogi also he has the knowledge of both soul and super soul,
yeah,
and this is what explained in the fifth chapter of 18th sloka, and he is able to see in all the jivas.
yeah.
Now, what is his practice of that bhakti element in the Gnana Yoga, Prabhu? In
Yeah,
Ashtanga
there
Yogi,
is.
I can see, I will
Yeah,
just
Ashtanga
in the
Yoga,
Ashtanga
Jnana Yoga,
Yogi.
both they will have some form of deity worship and some form of hearing the about the pastimes of the Lord, and all of that is there in their practices also.
Okay, in the Gnana Yogi, will also hear about the glories of the
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now the Gnana Yogi, after having this, hearing of the glories of the Lord, now he will enter into the Ashtanga Yogi. That's it, right, Prabhu? Or else he will not, no
It is
need to.
not necessary. See,
Okay, okay,
according to Bhagavatam,
okay.
the Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga is depend. It is the difference is based on the predominance of the Jnana element or Ashtanga element. Otherwise, if you read Kapila Dev's teachings in chapter 26 and 28, you will see that both in the practices of 27 and 28, third
28 is
canto.
Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga
Yeah,
Yoga is Prabhu.
27 is Jnana Yoga. So you will
Yeah.
see that both practices have the elements of Bhakti, Jnana, and Ashtanga. So just that if there is predominance of Ashtanga, it is called as Ashtanga Yoga. If there is predominance of Jnana, it will be called as Jnana Yoga. Otherwise, both are both have the elements of Jnana, Yoga, and Bhakti.
Okay, if the predominance of Gnana is there, he can also eligible to go to the Brahma Jyoti, and
Yeah,
predominance of the Ashtanga is there, he can is eligible to go to the Brahma Jyoti. Is it
yeah,
that, Prabhu?
yeah,
No need
yeah.
to go, no need to go from Gnana to Ashtanga Yoga, then
No,
he is
no,
eligible for it. Okay, thank you
no,
so much,
no.
Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, Sham Sundar Prabhu, we have another 6 minutes time. So if you can keep your, okay, Mother Gail, okay, Sham Sundar Prabhu has put his hands down. Okay, Mother Gail, you can please go ahead. Mother Gail.
Sorry, people. Yeah, how is it that Rishabhadev instructed the yogis by behaving as an avadhut?
It is not very clearly mentioned.
There's no reason given for him behaving like that.
It's not very clearly explained. So somehow he had something which he wanted to accomplish by acting in that way. He did that and it was accomplished. So what exactly he did, uh, how exactly it impacted the yogis or the other avaduts, it's not very clearly mentioned in the explanations or in the verse itself. So I cannot comment
Oh,
exactly on that.
okay then. Can you remind me what it was that was accomplished by his behaving in that way?
In that way, I think one thing is, uh, the yogis probably learned that how they should not trust their mind and things like that. That is one thing which is explicitly mentioned, of course, based on the question asked by Parikshit Maharaj also, and other certain ways in which he acted by completely acting like a deaf, dumb, and madman. So, in order to avoid the public's disturbance and things like that, mm, uh, yeah, probably looking at those things, because we are not Ashtanga yogis, we don't know what to look for uh, in a role model. Okay, we are practicing bhakti, so we know what exactly we have to look for in a role model. But here, these Ashtanga yogis, especially those who are on the path of the Avadut Marg, they may um, mm, they may look for certain things which Rishabdev exhibited. I am not able to exactly tell what exactly they saw and how they
But
learned.
but there's an Avadut Marg for Ashtanga yogis.
Yeah, I probably, yeah.
And by behaving in the, as you said, they learn not to trust their minds. So the reason why they learned not to trust their mind is because Rishabhadev was, at first he was like an exemplary person, and then he went from that to this avadut behavior. That's how they learned to not trust their mind.
Details are not given, Mate. I cannot comment on that because there is
Okay.
not much detail given about his activities. Very, very suggestive, very few details are there. And how exactly the uh, the yogis learned, what they learned exactly, those details are not there. Just that
Um,
they learned, and that was the purpose of his appearance, or a purpose of those particular pastimes that he performed is given. Something they learned
mhm.
and they got benefited. Some people got bewildered. These two things are mentioned. So beyond that, I cannot, because of the lack of details, I cannot comment more on that.
Yeah, okay. Some people got bewildered means
That's how
they
the
just
Jain
didn't.
religion has come.
Oh, oh, uh-huh. Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we should pause here. It's time. We will continue this discussion on Monday. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.